Hey guys, Keely here. Thanks for joining me today, and I wanted to talk with you about the basics of SEO copywriting. So, what does that mean? So, SEO means search engine optimization, and you've probably heard a lot about this topic and wondered, well, what can I have to do with my own SEO strategies? And here's the thing. There are tons of on-page SEO things you do when you write your blog post and your website content. And there are a lot of things that I want to teach you today to help you to rank higher with Google. And these are the same things and same principles that I use on Unstoppable Mama and Unstoppable Family and for all of my clients. So first of all, I want to talk with you about readability. Now, I have shared with you about this before. Readability is a score that your content is given of how hard it is to read or how easy. Kind of think of it as like a grade level. So whatever grade someone is in school, that would be their reading level. And readability scores are very similar to that. We want to keep a readability score that is between 5 and 6. This is to help your international audiences understand what you have to say, as well as those that maybe don't have a high of education as others. Now, you might think this isn't that important, but Google thinks it is. They won't bring the general population to your website as easily if you have a higher readability score because they think it won't make a great user experience for this person if they can't understand it. So we want to be mindful of our readability score. Now, here is the great news. There is a website that you can use that will help you with your readability score, and I wanted to share it with you. Right now, I have a blog post that is open. And this blog post, we're going to see in a minute, has a pretty high readability score. I like to use HemingwayApp.com, and this is just a free website where you can put your stuff inside of here. You can there are plan pricing, so you can do other things. So you delete what they autofill. They try to give you a little preview of what this service is like, and then you add in your own content. Now, as you can see, the readability on this particular article is 9. I haven't done anything yet to make the sentences easy to read or added in any headers or any of the things that make this score go down to 5 or 6. If you wanted it to be a little higher, 7 would be your absolute maximum. So try not to go any higher than that. If you'll notice over here, there are highlighted sentences, and it tells you what each of these are. So there's too many adverbs, or maybe, if we were to change these adverbs, it would probably change this readability score. So for example, we could get rid of that adverb. We could get rid of this adverb because maybe these aren't really important. Adverbs aren't always important. What really helps your readability score, however, for the most part, is sentence length and paragraph length. So in school, maybe you were taught to write really long sentences and really long paragraphs. Most paragraphs are at least 5 to 10 sentences long, but online, we want to keep it to 3 sentences, at most 4. And really, you have to pay attention to how long the paragraphs are. If you have really long sentences, 4 sentences may be too much. But if you have shorter sentences, it may be perfect. Right here, this paragraph right here is a pretty normal sized paragraph. And that paragraph would be kind of what you're shooting for, okay, right here. That's about the size of the paragraph that you're looking to get each time. For a long time, I thought that readability was based off of how difficult the word was to read or how vast your vocabulary, but really it's mostly based off of how short sentences are and paragraphs, whether or not you have headers and bullet points. So I'm going to make a couple of changes here to show you how to make this score go down. All right, so we have some really long paragraphs and sentences here. Man, just adding 1 period has already changed this. So this is kind of a long paragraph. I'm going to want to break that up. Also, I'm going to want to add some more periods in here. So this is kind of an unedited post that I'm working on. All right, so you want to try not to use too many commas. I have 2 here sometimes, and that's typically okay. But if you are about to take 2 halves of a sentence and join it with a comma, ask yourself, can I break it into 2? So if you're about to use commas for something other than grammar, punctuation, ask yourself, how can I make this sentence into 2 instead of 1? So that's a great way to kind of help yourself out. There's nothing wrong with having a few hard sentences to read or very hard. That will not keep your readability score too high. You do want to have a combination, or it's possible you'll make it too low. It's also just as damaging to have readability scores that are too low. If you have them at 4 and 3 and 2, Google's going to assume that you don't have good things to say because your reading level isn't very high. Maybe they will look at it and think, oh, this is probably really watered down and it won't be interesting for the reader. Google does everything they do to have great user experience, and that's what you're trying to get to. So another thing that you can do, and I'm going to talk more about headers at some point during this process, but right now I want to show you what a header is. Every 2 paragraphs, you want to have a sentence that stands out for like this. And this would be called a header, kind of like a paragraph title or a book chapter title. If you were to think of it like this, you have a blog post title, something you've titled your blog post, and then you're going to have these within, and you think of them as chapter titles so that you're introducing what the reader is about to read about. This is very helpful because it allows readers to scan. It also helps your readability score. And we're going to learn in a little bit how it helps Google crawlers read your page content, because when we code these to be heading 2 or heading 3, it allows Google crawlers to see what is this page actually about. So maybe we could say, I'm just showing you what they look like. And as you can see, my readability has already changed, but you do want to be very strategic with what you share in headers. And I'm going to discuss that in depth more. Before I move on, though, I want to talk with you about headlines. So you have something that will help you get your readability score where it needs to go. As you can see, I made a couple of changes, and it's already made this grade way lower. And I'm sure we can easily get it down to 6 if we just continue breaking up these sentences and adding headers. For your headline, having a great headline is pretty important because there's a few key elements that we want to have in there. First of all, we want your keyword. Whatever that keyword is that you're trying to target, it needs to be in the headline. Also, it needs to be something that will grab a reader's attention, and it can't be too long. If it's too long, then it can be a problem. That causes it to trail off when Google displays it in Google searches. So maybe the reader won't see the full thing or get the full effect. CoScheduler is a great place to use. This is a free website that you can use, and you can sign up for free now. You just get put into their list, and you just place your headline inside of here and you analyze it. And now they're going to show you some great insights about your headline. This is a great tool to help you figure out what a good headline consists of. So for example, this one got a score of 74, which is good. The higher, the better. And it turns green when it says that it's pretty high. It's a good score. But as you can see, this particular headline is kind of missing uncommon words. And uncommon words is part of the score that you get. They want you to get the reader's attention with the kinds of words you're using. So an uncommon word would make them go, oh, I don't typically read that, and pique their interest. Emotional is something that helps the reader identify with what you're talking about. And then power is something that draws them. And as you can see, they are showing you what each one of that they've classified. Okay, what are the common words? Is the what? Well, those are pretty common, right? We use them in everyday language. The emotional word they're pointing to is the power word they're pointing to is unstoppable. And so this will help you. Just try your headlines, add a couple of different words here or there. Just figure out, okay, what makes a great headline? It'll also share with you how many characters you've used. It suggests don't go over 55. Well, that's probably because when you show up in search results on Google, you're going to trail off your headline. So this is really helpful for you. 6 words tends to be the highest number of click-throughs, so really long titles may not work. Don't think you have to always do what these types of things say, but this is the best starting point. Once you build an audience and once you have people already coming to your site, breaking the rules might be a little bit different, but you really want to stick with these basics so that you can get found, so that your site can build authority, because eventually you will have a readership that comes back. But until then, you've got to really keep your page content and your SEO strategies on point. Okay, so it also analyzes how they think the headline will make a person feel. And this headline specifically is going to evoke a positive emotion. So there's a couple of emotions that this will show. If they think it will be a neutral emotion, they just give you a different line face. If they think it's going to make your audience angry, and that's the emotion, then of course you're going to have a mad face. It's okay if your audience gets angry over your title. It's just helping you to understand what exact type of response you can expect from these types of headlines. And it's okay to evoke a sad feeling or an angry feeling or whatever. The problem is when you evoke no feelings whatsoever with your titles, because that doesn't cause someone to want to click on it. It's just like, oh, whatever. So you definitely want to get it happy, sad, mad, something like that. So just keep working with it until you get that smiley face or that sad face or something other than the line face. Okay, so I told you that I was going to talk with you about headers. And to do that, I want to share with you some posts that I have written on Unstoppable Family, because I work with these to make sure that they are great for SEO. And if you watch my tutorial on how to upload a blog post, then you will know how to get to this point where your content's in here and everything else. Okay, so there is what we use is a Yoast SEO plugin on the websites for both Unstoppable Family and Unstoppable Mama. So when you have that plugin, you'll see over here you have something that says readability is good and your SEO is good. That means that you have your readability scores where it needs to be, and you have targeted the keywords that you said you wanted to target properly. When both of these are green, you're good to go. All right, so here's some things to look at in the Yoast SEO plugin. It's definitely something you want to have installed on your website. You can install it yourself, or you can get your web developer to do that for you. It's not as hard to install a plugin as you might think. It's pretty simple. You can do it. All right, let me scroll down to the bottom here and show you where to put in your keywords. And then I want to give you some tips about how to incorporate the keywords into your content. But I wanted to show you this as a visual because this analysis is going to show you what you've done right and where you could definitely make some changes. And of course, it's got a few things it thinks I should do to change. You could also do the same. You could make those changes. So I decided that my focus keyword was going to be the word content. Your focus keyword should always appear in your title and in your URL. It is a good idea for it to appear here in your metadata. Now, if you aren't sure what metadata is, I'll show you. If you do any Google search at all right, so I'm going to look up recipes. Anytime you Google something, you're going to be taken to a search result page, and the metadata of that website will appear right here. This is the metadata. This particular site looks like they probably customized their metadata. This has definitely been customized. This one has not. See how it sort of just trails off here? Typically, when they are trailing off like that, it's because they didn't customize that data, just like here. So if you don't customize it, it'll trail off. If you do customize it, then you're going to have a period at the end, and you can add whatever you want into that field. This might be a good way to draw the reader's attention. Oftentimes, for example, with recipes, all right, so if I was looking up a brownie recipe, I see this happen all the time with recipes. You can actually do the same thing with anything you're talking about. A lot of times in the metadata, they'll actually tell you the kinds of ingredients that you need. And this is very helpful to a reader because they're like, I'm looking for one that has, butter, and oh, that looks like probably the right one. I'm going to click it. It gives the reader a pretty good idea of what they're about to read so that they can click your website and read your content. This is a great way to grab some reader attention. So you can edit that by clicking the edit snippet. And when you edit it, you'll write your new meta description here. And when you're doing your meta description, you need to type until you see a green bar. It's also recommended that whatever your keyword is, or keywords, like if you're doing a long tail keywords, which is a string of words together that people tend to search, that they appear here in your metadata. This will actually help you to get that green SEO light. All right, so you see how when I am typing this bar is not green yet. I would keep adding sentences until it gets green. All right, so it wants it to be a certain amount. If it goes above the green, it'll go into red, and then you want to stop, because if it's not green, then it's just going to trail off. See how I added content? It highlighted that word content because it wants to show you where it's seeing it. So it highlighted the content here in the metadata as well as in your URL. All right, so I still have a little bit more I could go before it turns green, and then that would be perfect. Okay, so some other things you need to do to target keywords and to have great SEO is putting that word in the content. But you don't want to just say it again and again and again and again. There is a keyword density that you want to stick to, and your SEO, your analysis down here will actually tell you, depending on what plugins you have. You can get a plugin that will actually show you the number of words that you have and whether or not you have used too much density. Okay. If you have too many keywords, if you install the right plugin for that, it's like a word counter. And you can have it count the number of words that you have in there, and it will actually show you if you've said the keyword too many times. And if you do that, then you would need to reduce that amount. So Google frowns upon something called keyword stuffing. And this is an SEO trick from back in the day. And so now we still pay that penalty, because if you say the word too many times, they will look at that and think you're just trying to rank for that word. So make sure that you stay with your keyword density between 3 and 5%, which is based off of how many words your article is. So theoretically, if you write a longer post, you can say the keyword more. You can use that keyword more often. So I suggest that you install a plugin that will count that for you. Okay, so some other things to note about your keywords is we want to make sure that they are in these things called headers. And I shared with you a little bit earlier about headers and what they are. And I've got headers in this post, like I do all posts. So I have clicked on this header called the wheel. And I want to show you right here is this piece of coding. This is header 2. This is part of your HTML coding, and the way it works is your site will go ahead and make your title the header 1 typically. Not all websites do this, not all themes do this, but most of them do. Most of them have this coded as header 1. You only need one header 1 because why? It's like a book title, and you only need one book title. Header 2 is used like chapter titles, and you want to make sure that you take like these one sentences and you turn them into a header 2. If you want to use header 3s, you can absolutely do that. And I have used header 3s in this particular blog post. See, this is a header 3. I'm going to show you how to do it. You just highlight, you can click on it and hit header 3. I've used it in this. If you're going to use these descending headers, header 2, header 3, they need to go in order. So it's always header 2, then header 3. Think of them as subpoints within a chapter. So if this was your chapter title, this is a subpoint within the chapter, how they break it down and organize it more. And if you want to go to header 4, that would be a point underneath of header 3. And then you're going to go back to 2 and then keep going down. And you can keep doing that. But if you don't have much experience with headers and you're like, I am so lost right now, I don't know which one to choose, either just go all header 2 or all header 3. I prefer all header 2. If you have a theme that makes header 2 look weird or you don't like the way it looks, all header 3 could be fine. But personally, I prefer all header 2s for this because there are some SEO strategies out there that say that's best. Now, it's really important that you target keywords in your headers. Not necessarily just that one keyword you're trying to rank for on your page, but you want to make sure that you use these headers to your advantage. Okay, so here we're talking about Facebook visibility. We want to have these keywords. People want to know how to have Facebook. They want to know about Facebook. They want to know about visibility. So with our headers, we want to make sure that as much as we can, we're trying to create phrases that are long tail keywords, like create shareable content. Okay, people are likely looking for content. This is actually our keyword we're targeting for the page, so it's important that it does appear in a header at some point. Tagging and linking. People are going to look for this. We want to be super, super specific when we are making these headers. So the rule of thumb is this. If somebody reads your blog post, so let's read it like this. If somebody comes to your website and they want to read your blog post, they should be able to pretty much know what you have to say based off of these few components. First of all, they should be able to read your title, and it needs to be a very clear title. Gone is the day where we are being, kind of hidden with what we're talking about. I don't know if you ever heard of the book called Blue Like Jazz. Blue Like Jazz? What in the world is this even about? Okay, these are the kind of titles you have to stay away from because people aren't searching that. And if they are searching jazz, they aren't going to want to read the book Blue Like Jazz. It's not a book about music whatsoever. So you want to, for your search engine optimization, you want to be really clear. And I know it can maybe seem a little boring, like, oh, I'm leaving nothing to the reader, to their imagination or curiosity, but we aren't really in a culture right now where that's best. It's best to be super specific. So the best way to get reader attention is to create headlines. They have to click it. Why do I need to have a cleaner home? Or what am I screwing up in my life? How do I cook a turkey? Whatever that is, we want to make sure that we're doing our headlines like that. So they really want to click it. So here's the title. Your reader should be able to read your title, and then they ought to be able to read your blog post basically by these different headers. Okay, so they could read this and they know what are the 3 main factors that determine Facebook visibility. Well, apparently it's affinity, weight, and time. And maybe they already know what affinity, weight, and time are, and so they don't need to actually read these. but maybe they don't know what all of these are. So now they're going to stop to read them because, well, that's part of useful content. I need to know this. Okay, so we're talking here. All right, so we want to create the wheel. Okay, maybe I don't know what the wheel is. Maybe I'll read that now. Or maybe they do know what the wheel is, and now they can go along and keep scrolling through. Maybe they'll stop at tagging and linking because that's, important. This is how you get more eyeballs on your content. So they know they need the 8 tips for social media. They need to know what the wheel is, how to tag and link. They got to create call to action. They may not even read anything else, but it is important that they can look at your title and all of these things that kind of stand out. Also, like your bullet points. Okay, these are so valuable. People's eyes are drawn to bullet points. So always make sure that they are of high value and really drive that point home. The longer someone stays on your website, the better it is for your SEO rankings. So you want to make sure that you're doing things that help a reader engage, whether you're embedding a video, such as like say these videos, or you're using bullet points that maybe draws their eye, or graphics that are infographics or things that they think, oh, I need to check this out. The longer they play around on your website, the better it is for you. So we are huge fans here of infographics because people are very visual, but also this is another great on-page SEO strategy. Google made a change maybe a year and a half ago that they were giving more preference to websites that had more videos and more pictures in them because it just makes a better user experience. Now, don't sacrifice, don't think that if you just fill a post with images, that's all it takes, because that's not true. You have to have content. You have to have the words. And honestly, the more words, the better. And do you know something that I hear a lot? When you see how long this post is, we've been scrolling for a while, haven't we? This is probably a 2,500 word blog post, likely. And as you can see, we have been scrolling for a while. I've heard people say that they don't want their content to be this long because they don't think their readers are going to stick with it. But here's what Google is doing now. They are giving more preference to websites that have longer posts because they really want a one-stop shop experience for their users. Maybe you don't think your reader will stick with it, but if you organize it well and you create it with these headers and these bullet points and the videos and the infographics, and you hit your topic from every angle, they've literally got no reason to leave. And it's really helpful for you to have blog posts that are 2,000 words or 1,000 words. Not to say that you have to get caught up on all of the word count, but it is good to always work towards 500 word posts. So you can definitely have posts that are too short, but to my knowledge, having posts that are too long does not hurt your Google ranking. Posts that are too short and too many posts that are too short actually does hurt your ranking. Okay, so there's some other things that you can do within your post to help you with your on-page SEO. And that's when you add these pictures into your blog post, you can target keywords in the pictures. There are 2 spaces in which you can do that. You can title your picture something that is engaging, maybe a sentence, a long tail keyword. Pictures are searchable. So when you save your picture image, save it as a title of something that somebody might search, or would be a full sentence, whatever. Give plenty of searchability on that. Then you can add alternate text here. We could write content, which is one of the keywords. We can add Facebook engagement. We could do social media strategy. All right, these are things people are searching for. All right, and then if we go ahead and do that, we can update it. Please watch my video on how to add a blog post to your website This way you'll know what I'm doing. Obviously, you need to watch that if you don't know how to do what I'm doing right now. The other thing you can do is if you didn't save your image with the title that you wanted it to be, there is a place in here where you can do that when you go to upload it. Okay, so this was just titled screenshot, but I can change that title here. Now, what I like to do is I like to add a full sentence here, or maybe take a paragraph out of the blog post here, because if someone pins that image onto Pinterest, then that whatever you have this thing titled, that's actually going to be what shows up. And so Pinterest is a lot, the image, but it's also content too, because Pinterest is searchable. So you want to make sure that every image on your website is optimized for that, so that when you index your blog post onto Pinterest, or somebody else that's a user comes along, that you have that content on Pinterest. Okay, so some other things that you can do to help your on-page SEO is linking. And there's a couple of things you need to be linking to. First of all, you need to do links within your own website. So there is an idea now that what you should look for are your highest ranking posts on your website, and then you should be linking to those naturally. One of the things that's so important about linking is that it's natural. You can't just throw a link in where it doesn't seem like it fits. If you do that, Google will actually penalize you. So make sure it's natural, make sure it makes sense. So you just need to read back through your blog post, whatever you're talking about. And then if you've written about something similar on your website before, you should search it out on your blog. And look, you can use your own search bar to find the blog posts on your own website. So that's a super helpful thing. And if you have like courses and things, of course, you're going to want to link to that in your call to action. But I do encourage you not to link to the same page over and over and over within one blog post, because that's going to be suspicious with the links. Okay, links have come under fire a lot lately. So we got to be careful about what we're linking to and how often. Ultimately, you want to make sure that it's all about good user experience. So trying to send a reader to the same exact page 25 times in your post is going to be bad. All right. So Google's going to think, that's just somebody link stuffing now. So you can just search in your own search bar about something that maybe you don't remember what you've written, or maybe you don't remember what's on there, and just look for things. So maybe, okay, so I said video here. I'm positive we've probably written something about video in the past. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. This blog, we've had it up for like 4 years. So, okay, nothing about videos. But maybe there's something over here on the Unstoppable family, which is something else you can do. Now, we have 2 blogs that we're managing here with the Unstoppable family and Unstoppable Mama. It's really helpful to link to pages within your own website. Oh, look, here we go. I don't know why it didn't do it. If you aren't doing videos, you will go out of business. All right. Let's see. Over here on this blog, all right, so they've got some things that have videos in it, and maybe, how to create your perfect day. Maybe that can go in here. Just make sure that whatever it is relevant to what you've written about. And that might mean you pick a couple of things you actually want to target with your blog. Like maybe you have something in common and you can link back to it. So you're likely going to write about similar things, and you can just relink to everything. Just keep linking back and forth. The other kinds of things you need to be linking to, besides inside of your own website, is high-ranking blogs, like blogs that are websites that are high authority, that get traffic, that aren't suspicious or spammy. It's actually really good for us over here on Unstoppable Mama to link to the Unstoppable family because this website gets plenty of organic traffic. And it is a blog that is legitimate and would be great for linking. And so we actually link back and forth between these two, but it's very important that you don't overlink. If you own two domains, it's really important that you don't overlink between the two, because if Google thinks that one really just is existing so it can be that backlinking authority for the other one, it be penalizing to you too. And it will hurt your ranking. So make sure that it's always whatever you link to within your own website and within other websites, whether you own more than one or you are linking to other authority sites that you're just supernatural with it. Really, like, man, what would add value to someone right now? For example, if you were going to do recipes or you were going to talk about some kind of ingredient, somebody doesn't know what it is, you could link to the Wikipedia page about that ingredient. I mean, Wikipedia is a authority site. It could be something you link to. Just make sure that when you're linking, they make sense. So those are the kinds of things that you can do to have good SEO copywriting strategies on your website. Don't forget to use the Hemingway app, hemingwayapp.com, to help you with your readability score, the co-scheduler, headline analyzer to help you with your headlines, and then the other things that I suggested that you do within the post to have good SEO copywriting. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the tutorials.